Hello guys, once again it's Matt, and today we have another video. Thank you all the members, all the patrons. Make sure to subscribe. We are trying to hit 50,000 subscribers. We are almost at 20k, so help me out there and let's get going, guys. The objective is to hit 50k until the end of the year, so let's go. So today we have kind of the next basically episode of the counters, the perfect counters that I wanted to make. And to be honest, I really wanted to make the one that we talk about, the F-15A. But before I actually do that video, and I will probably release that video tomorrow, so please watch that as well, because these two videos will complement each other. But first, we gotta talk about these two. The F-15C against the Su-27S. Two aircraft that are very much comparable to each other and very much counters to each other, but the Su-27 might break the game in a way that the F-15 cannot hold it. So let's talk about it. Both of them have a very similar performance in many things, climb rate, engine, range, all sorts of things, you know. The aircraft are basically made to counter each other. Obviously, they will have their uniqueness on a sense of the type of way that they're going to fight. So, for example, one is going to be better on an instant turn. The other will be better in a more of a rate fight, or one circle or two circles. So there is everything that needs to be analyzed when these aircraft are actually here. I'm not gonna go full down on that because I don't want this video to be too long. But I wanted to make the point that the Su-27, it doesn't matter what variant we get, it will always be a little bit better than the F-15, to be honest. And I really don't want unbalancing, you know, in the game. I really don't. So that's why the counter of the F-15A first, I'm going to talk about tomorrow after this video, so that you can actually understand first why the Su-27S might, or the P, whatever, might be even too much for now, because it is a very dangerous aircraft, okay? So, I mean, we kind of already did a gap that we can talk about the, we kind of just established that the performance is going to be very similar. Remember that these two aircraft, even though, yes, they will have normally, I mean, not in the case of the F-15, but just because the F-16 is way less powerful than F-15 in the sense of engine-wise. But the Su-27, even though it has a very good engines, it has a little bit of a worse thrust weight than the MiG-29. That's pretty much what you can expect from it. But in the instantaneous turn, it will probably be better than the MiG-29. So yeah, it's kind of something that you need to worry about. But let's talk about the payloads. We have here kind of a payload that would kind of look like this. We're talking about an early version, and you will see what I mean about early and late versions later. But as you see, just look at this first, and then we will compare it to the F-15. So R-73s, it can carry 6 of them. Obviously, we would normally carry 4 of them, being the rest of the missiles 6 long-range missiles. So you can carry 6 R-27ERs or Rs, but you can also carry 2 in these 2 pylons, outer pylons over here. You can carry the ETs and Ts. Why we did that, the things here on red? Because for balancing purposes, these can be removed. For example, the ET might be removed due to balancing purposes, like it is now for the MiG-29, and even the R-27ER could be completely removed, or maybe it would be just limited to 2 or 4 missiles to be kind of competitive to the others. But still, the same missile that we have, but with the N001 radar. A radar that has, on a normal sense, 100 kilometers of range. So you would be able to fully utilize the radar and the capabilities of the R-27, and you would still carry 6 of them, plus 4 R-73s or R-60Ms, depending on where they like to add. A lot of people have the misconception that the Su-27 didn't use the R-60M. It's just completely it's a mistake, okay? R-73s and R-60s, even the normal R-60s can be used for training and other purposes in the Su-27, okay? But just for you to know, remember these 6 R-27ERs. As I said, it can be different for balancing purposes, but anyway, we can use the L005 here as ECM pods. We don't know when or if we are ever going to add ECM, have ECM, but if it's ever added, the Su-27 would have it. And obviously, it has the same type of weaponry that the MiG-29s have, so unguided stuff, S8s, S13s, S25s, FAB 250 and 500 of the M62 and 54 types, and also the ZAB 500, so many types of unguided stuff, which is also an advantage on this compared to the F-15s for the normal ones that normally didn't have these, okay? But just remember this, R-27ERs. And then we go for an F-15C early, for example, for basically from early 80s or mid 80s even. Kind of late 80s if you compare, if you have this missile, but still. The R-27ER is also from mid to late 80s as well. The Su-27 in general is from the mid 80s, right, when the full introduction happened. So yeah, doesn't matter too much, but still. Of course, AIM-9Ls. For AIM-9Ls, we added the AIM-9M9 here, which is the Air Force version of the Dash 8, which is the improved version of the AIM-9M that got finally 35 Gs of turn and a better IRCCM, so it is a 90s version if I'm not mistaken, but still, or late 80s at least. But it would be a little bit more modern than the R-73, but just to be able to compete with the R-73. If not, the R-73 will have the advantage in every single parameter, right? Then obviously AIM-7Ms and AIM-7 AIM-Hs, and then the drop tanks. So yes, the main thing is about this. You have 2 less missiles than the Su-27. The radar would be basically the same, around 100 kilometers, depending on the size of the target, right? But then you have this. This is a real limitation. Even though the AIM-9s are already a limitation compared to the R-73, the AIM-7Ms, even though they are a fairly good weapon, they are severely outranged by anything compared to the R-27R and the R-27ER. They are severely outranged due to the seeker head. The seeker head can only actually fire from a target that is 40 to 45 kilometers max. So it is a problematic thing, even though it has a little bit more range aerodynamically than 40 kilometers even flying high. It will never have the seeker head to do it, so it is severely outranged. And if you test it in War Thunder, you will see what I mean. Sometimes if you fire a missile from 60, 70 kilometers even in a ER, in a stand like 1v1, standoff kind of situation, you will see that before even the AIM-7M is fired, the ER is already kind of close to the F-15. That was nerfed a little bit due to the new drag system, but still the AIM-7 as well was nerfed. So yes, you were basically severely outranged. So even the MiG-29s that we have in game would completely destroy something like an F-15C without the proper missiles, just due to the range. On the BVR, of course, in the dogfights depends very much on the pilot and the aircraft itself, but still, on the BVR department, it is severely outranged. The MH would help a little bit. It would loft. Apparently, it would loft. It has a data link system, so apparently it could go further than 40 kilometers. It's difficult to actually confirm this information, but in theory, it can. Yes, it has the same range, not the same range, but the same energy as the SDM. So it isn't like a completely different missile. It would still be outranged by an ER, but it would be closer to the ER than the M is. So that might help, but I still think that it is a problem that it's difficult to deal with. And I still think that F-15 early like this will have severe problems at dealing with BVRs against the Su-27 and the MiG-29. Then we go for kind of a weird and crazy thing that can happen as well, okay? This is another option that we can see. But first of all, let me just talk that this would be a little bit better, maybe, as you're going to see. But even this is kind of too much. Even this, the Su-27, as you're going to see, it is still going to be ahead of the others. So as you see here, R-73s, R-60s, doesn't matter too much. This is an Su-27S late. What I mean about late? According to Gordon Yeffin's late production Su-27Ss, we don't know which ones specifically from each year, not for the way that he writes in the book, on the Su-27 book that he has. It feels like it is like the last batches of the Su-27 before the Soviet Union collapsed, or maybe even the first ones after the Soviet Union collapsed. So we don't know yet for sure. But the major thing is that they introduced a new upgrade to the N001 radar and 2 additional pylons. That's pretty much it. So you will see 12 pylons on this, with 8 radar missiles. I couldn't confirm which pylons actually use the R-77, but in theory it could use the R-77 like this, and it's definitely the upgraded N0091 upgrade made it possible to shoot 2 targets at once with this missile. So yeah, using TWS, obviously it's still a mechanical radar. So yeah, so this would be the optimal and most OP version of the Su-27, right? 12 missiles, 4 of them being IR, and the rest of them being or IR or active or semi-active. I mean, it's OP no matter what, right? Unguided stuff would still be there with the extra weight. It increased it a lot at like 2,000 kilograms. So it could take a lot more bombs than the early versions. But yes, and obviously the ECM pods. But hold on, I'm not talking about only Soviets here. The Americans also could carry something like this as a late version, 90s version of the F-15 with the AIM-120s as well. So we added the B here. As you see, can carry 8 of them as well. And also C3s, for example, if they want to add it to be more comparable to the R-73. So this is another option that we can see in the far future. Honestly, I don't think we will see it. For now, I don't think we will see Fox 3 missiles coming soon to the game. But in my opinion, it's not like completely broken, especially in the late versions of it. In the late versions of it, the Su-27S and the F-15C would be more comparable to each other, just due to the missiles. The AIM-120s would kind of balance it out with the R-77s, hopefully, and that would make it so that it's a little bit more, useful. Obviously, the Su-27S with the extra missiles, it will be heavier as well. It's a heavy aircraft, so there's always a factor of that, but it is a lot of missiles. And then you can kind of wonder, even this one, it is going to be kind of OP, isn't it? I mean, even 6 radar missiles like this, it is going to be OP. So, especially if it's outranging the F-15s. So, as you see, we kind of have a problem here of balancing, The Su-27, in my opinion, feels like a more capable aircraft in the BVR, even though, yes, in dogfight, it comes down to the pilot and situation and whatever, but at least in the BVR department, we have a severely outmatched country, which will be everything that doesn't have an Su-27, which is basically everything else beyond the Soviets and the Chinese. So what do we do? I really don't know. I have an option for adding an F-15, initial F-15A, with a counter that you might not be expecting, but it has a reason why it's added, in my opinion. And we will talk about it tomorrow because this video is already too long. But let me know in the comments what you think. Do you think the Su-27S, I mean, even forget about the later variants. First, we probably would see something like this coming to the game. Su-27S early with just ERs and normal missiles and stuff, and R-73s against the F-15 with the AIM-7MHs and AIM-9Ms maybe, or something like that. What do you think? Would it be OP? I think the Su-27 would be OP in the BVR, and they would both match themselves, in the dogfight. But let me know in the comments what you think. maybe I'm overestimating the ability of the Su-27, but it feels like already the MiG-29 can destroy something like an F-15 just due to the missile. The missile is the main problem, not the aircraft. These aircraft are all counters to each other, but the missile, the R-27ER, is a out of this world missile right now, and even an F-15 will have troubles against that. But I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, I don't know. Let me know in the comments. I see you guys on the next one, and bye. Have a